Why aren't we talking about these for cars? And are they going to take this technology and use it with all two-strokes? Like mopeds? Scooters?
Pretty much so, yeah. It's kind of expensive. Yeah, first of all, you can't do it without a computer. The computer actually runs the motor.
So you need a chip on board?
No, it's an actual computer. On the V6 engine, the computer's about this big and about that thick. Sets up right in the back of the motor, and it controls the emissions. They have sensors to control the emissions, you know, the oxygen here and there, and all this, the fuel. Checks the heat of the exhaust and all that. Checks the emissions in the exhaust, and it adjusts the amount of fuel and stuff going in. It's just amazing what the things do.
How often does it adjust?
Well, just like your car is a new car is constantly adjusting.
Yeah, it is.
According to whether you're stepping on the gas harder or leaving up, or you know, going how fast you're going and things like that. That technology I didn't want to contend with it because I didn't want to learn this whole thing all over again. So
yeah, it's a totally new game, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't work on those motors, but I did go to school on it.
Yeah.
When I got out of the school, I said, I don't think I want to learn this trade all over again. I've been doing it, you know, at that time for like, you know, 40 years or something. I said, I'll just work on what I know, which is the old style.
Well, aren't too many of the new ones out there, are there?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few.
When did they start making big engines for boats like that?
Well, 150 to 200 horsepower motors, they started making in about 1977, I think.
With the injection in the computer?
No, with carbureted.
Right. When did they go to
making 1990, I think when I went to school it was 1997, and they hadn't produced any yet. We were working on. I went there to learn out what are they going to build, because they had some, but they were all handmade. They were prototypes.
So 2011, what percentage do you think of the bigger engines don't have a carburetor anymore?
Oh, almost all of them.
Don't have a carburetor.
They're all fuel injection now. That's the government had emission standards, and that's the only way they could
make them.
Yeah.
They have them for the smaller horsepowers too?
I think they go down, some of them go down to like 25 horsepower, but once they got down to like 25 horsepower, everything under that is 4-stroke.
Yeah.
Because they're not as expensive to make, you know. These motors are really getting expensive now.
Okay.
You know, we used to sell a 75 horse motor, which was the biggest one they made, for about $1,000, you know, in the 60s. And the price stayed the same almost every year for a number of years. Now you buy a big motor, you know, you might spend $8,000 or $10,000, or some of these big motors they make are, you know, they make them up to 350 horsepower now. And those motors are like $20,000 a piece. And you see some of these big offshore boats that they run off on the coast down in Florida and California.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you got 3 of them on there, about $60,000, $70,000 worth of motors on there. Well, you got to have, you know, it's not something that everybody can afford.
Okay.
And what's happened to the marine industry is they've priced themselves pretty much out of the market. And I think they're just starting to realize that. Because the marine industry is really down now. It's down probably 50% in the last 3 years.
Really? And you don't think it's just the economy? You think it's an addition of the economy? They've priced themselves out of it.
It's the economy, and it's just stuff is way overpriced.
Is it overpriced, or is it the mandated technology just more expensive?
It's overpriced because of the technology they have to use. This stuff is very expensive, you know. First thing you do, you put a computer on there, and you raise the price $1,000 without even doing anything else. You know. Then instead of carburetors, you got electronic fuel injection, all kind of pumps, and just those motors are great. The new ones, you turn the key just like starting your car. You don't have to do anything but you turn the key, and the computer takes over, warms it up. They never buck and spit, never die out. They just run like they're supposed to.
Will they run years that way, like the old ones, or you don't know?
We don't know yet.
Now, if you have the computer making sure that the emissions are really low, is there a problem? Because isn't the camshaft essentially lubricated by the exhaust?
No, there is no camshaft on a two-stroke motor.
Well, what is the piston spins something? It's moving something down there.
Crankshaft.
Crankshaft. That's what I meant. So what lubricates the crankshaft?
There's oil injection that does that. There's no oil in the crankcase. See, when you got carburetors, you got the gas and oil mixed.
Yeah.
Okay. And the fuel comes in through the carburetor, and it goes into the crankcase. And it goes through the crankcase and hits all those parts. That's how the bearings and everything get lubricated.
But now?
Now the only thing you got going through the crankcase is air, and they inject oil. They don't need very much oil because the gasoline used to wash that was going through there, washed all the oil away, you know.
Right.
So you had to have it constant.
So now there isn't any oil. So you don't mix oil and gas anymore.
No.
The machine does it
Yeah.
automatically, and it injects oil into the lubricated parts.
Yeah.
And it's only injecting gas into the cylinder.
Right.
Which also contributes to improved emissions.
Yeah. Economy, it improves the economy 30 to 40% because you're not wasting any fuel, and it's just more efficient because they can control it better. They only put in as much as what they need.
So now what was what did you do in regards to these fixing? Were you the repair guy out in the field? Were you testing for the manufacturer? Were you?
No, I've always had my own shop.
Yeah.
Well, the first 6 years, I got into this when I was 27 years old, and I worked for a company called Kesnick Marine, and I ran the service shop for them. But in those days, the biggest engine was 35 horsepower, and they were very simple engines, you know. So it was easy to learn. Everything on them was fairly simple. And then as they progressed through the years, the motors got bigger and more complicated and a lot higher performance.
When's the last time you worked on an engine?
The last time I rebuilt one was probably about a month ago.
Yeah.